Chapter 3. The Development of Your Magnetic Power. Every person has already all the magnetic power that he or she will ever have any use for. What you need to know is that you have it, and to be able to draw upon your storage keeper, the inner self. You cannot make yourself magnetic by merely reading all the books in the world on the subject. No one can impart power to you, because no one can create power for you. All power comes from within. It does not take any more effort to be magnetic than not to be. To unfold latent power is very simple. When once you realize that you have power, you have confidence in your efforts, and this power irradiates your whole being. If the irradiation is weak, your power will be weak. But if the irradiation is strong, your power will be proportionally strong, and you may become invincible. We never know what we can do until we have something to spur us on to achievement. You can develop magnetic power by thinking and acting and imagining that you are more magnetic. Thus you become a human dynamo and you attract magnetism. Once you start the subconscious self thinking that you are magnetic, your whole personality will respond and you will develop unlimited power. An Oriental saying is, there is no limit to the knowing of the self that knows. To develop yourself so that you will come in close contact with that self that knows is a coming science. We will not take up this subject in this work, but will in a later work, which will be called Seership, the Science of Knowing the Future. You will find the person with a winning personality has something behind him. A weak person is never magnetic. I do not mean physical strength. Physical power is not attractive power, but physical power may be transmuted into genuine magnetic ability. Physical power is merely the ammunition which may be used for other ends. Rules for developing a magnetic personality. The rules for developing a powerful personality are many, but after a long study I have gradually weeded out the least important ones, and whereas some of the rules were ill, the beginning rather difficult to learn, I have them now worked out into a simple and concise form. If you will apply the following instructions, you will soon commence to unfold your latent powers. Rule number 1. Believe in yourself, that you have all the power that you wish. You can readily see the object of this. If you think you have no power and that you are weak, this thought will not develop any power, but on the other hand, if you think you are powerful and start the subconscious self to work, you are going to develop power. Your negative state is your weakness and your positive state is your strength. Thus you now realize the advantage of keeping the idea before you that you are developing magnetic power. Commit this to memory. I am power. I am equal to anything that may come up in my life. I will unfold personal power. I am creating within real, dynamic personal power. The more power you think you possess, the more actual power you will unfold, and it will be the kind that you bring you real dividends. Rule number 2. Make up your mind to believe in yourself. Let your whole manner denote action, confidence, courage, and the ability to do things. You hear men say, "He will make good." What is there about a man in question that gives him his opinion of him? It is his manner. He believes in himself. Suggest to yourself, I am power. My manner and my personal atmosphere vigorously express activity and encourage confident personal power. It is my way. It is my attitude. I have enough to win confidence and respect. Rule number 3. You can never hope to increase your personal magnetism until you first familiarize yourself with the tools pertaining to power. The tools are those of your own organism. You will find that at times you are very unmanageable. The mechanic becomes trained in the use of the tools of his trade, but few persons ever become skilled in handling the tools which nature has given them within their own mind. The physical body represents the storage house. Your success in life depends upon your ability to handle this power. Watching others is an immense benefit. If they display qualities that would be of value to you, make a mental note of them. Many persons do things quite unconsciously. You may do the very things which then seen in others horrify you. What we do ourselves never looks quite as bad to us. The only way you can improve yourself is to watch yourself closely each day. Be determined that you are going to correct some faults or do something better than you have done it before. You will see that this is a very easy of accomplishment. In a year's time you will have made 365 improvements. At this rate you would assuredly have become proficient. It's a good idea to have a little notebook. Every time you do something which you know you should not have done, make a note of it. The next time you do it, the thought will immediately suggest itself. and the chances are you will not repeat the undesirable act. You will find it a great help to write down each night before going to bed the improvement you have made. This will impress it upon the subconscious mind and will become a part of you. It will be just as easy to do this as anything else. The suggestion for the rule: be ever ready to change for the better. Keep your mind receptive to the good and close it to the bad. The law of good is wonderfully magnetic, and it is deplorable that there are so few who realize the right thing and the true thing are the only things worthwhile. Rule 4. Be ever careful what you say. Never take for granted that it is the truth because someone told you so. They may have added a little to the original story, most people do, or they may have been misinformed. If the latter is the case, you may be placed in a very embarrassing position and are liable to have a very painful and unpleasant experience. Unless you are convinced that something which has been told you is really the truth, do not think of repeating it as the truth. If you do repeat it, give the authority it came from. But even though it be the truth, unless you are ready to say it to the person's face, do not say it at all. The square man will never state facts other than as they are. Rule number 5. You will never find a selfish man with a winning personality. Self-interest is very necessary, but deliberate selfishness is very unmagnetic. Sometimes we meet people whom we think we would like very much, but when acquaintances develop the fact that they are selfish, we lose our respect for them, and we turn from them in dislike. One of the greatest assets in life is friendship. A man may have all the money he wants, but unless he has real friends, he will not be happy. Rule 6. Tact is a simple little word, but it has a wonderful meaning. The dictionary defines it as ready power of appreciation and doing what is required by circumstance. If husbands and wives would exercise the same tact after marriage as they did before, there would be very few unhappy marriages. The art of being agreeable. You can make yourself so agreeable that no one can be disagreeable to you. When I was first married, I came home several times and found my wife all out of sort. The first time it was because the maid had let the roast burn. But instead of getting angry as she was, I laughed and joked about the awful calamity. I inquired if there wasn't something else that we could eat. We soon discovered that we could get along very nicely without the roast. The next time I found my wife out of sorts, the maid had left without so much as saying she was going. When my wife went out to see that everything was in readiness for 6 o'clock dinner, there was neither dinner nor maid. She immediately worked herself into a bad temper. Again I gave her the laugh, and in less than half an hour we were enjoying a good meal. After these 2 experiences, my wife realized how useless it was to lose her temper and permit herself to be upset over trifling things or even big ones. It does no good and does much harm. The weak person loses his temper easily. The strong one controls his. Don't show your weakness by constantly losing your temper. Many married people would live happy lives if they would learn to control their temper, and it is generally the trifling things that cause trouble. Avoid dwelling upon trifles, and you will do away with most of your troubles. Rule 7. If you want to be well liked, it is necessary to become what is called a good mixer. This comes naturally to some, but with the majority it must be cultivated. As there are all sorts and kinds and classes of people, it is necessary for you to be able to adapt yourself to all sorts and conditions of persons. A good mixer has to be willing to meet the other fellow's tastes and desires, not as a condescension, but as a great pleasure. If he meets someone with a hobby, he interests himself for the time being at least in the same thing. A great deal of diplomacy must be exercised by the one who is ambitious to develop a winning personality. Rule number 8. Have ever an open mind. Don't try to convert others to your way of thinking or acting. Avoid all interference with another's tastes, belief, political affiliations, recreations, business affairs, etc. I do not mean that you must go out of your way to do things which are objectionable to you when you do not have to, but it is well to do as the Romans do when you are in Rome. It is just as easy to refrain from expressing your dislikes as it is to express them, and you should always remember the importance of tact. Rule number 9. An attractive manner is assured if we will avoid the following: sarcasm, impertinence, ridicule, hot temper, profanity, roughness, brutality, vulgarity, a loud voice, and grouchiness. Almost everyone has some of these qualities. How many of you? You may have more than you think. It is possible to exchange every one of them for their opposite. If you are talking to someone who gets angry, if you will but control your temper, his anger will cease. Make a point of cultivating the exact opposite of these traits, and it will help you wonderfully to develop an attractive manner. Sometimes, though not often, we hear said of a person, "He is genuine." Men and women of genuine qualities are everywhere in demand, and will be more and more so in the business world. Genuineness develops magnetic qualities of the very highest kind. When you meet a person of this genuine stamp, you know at once that you may trust him or her. If you will observe carefully, you will note the fact that the genuine person does not turn his eyes away when conversing with you. His manner is free and natural, simple and unaffected. Take this suggestion into your mind and set upon it. I am just what I appear to be, and no man can say I am not. Rule number 10. There is nothing so detrimental to the development of the magnetic personality as lack of self-control. It is not so much what you say as how you say it that counts. A man who loses his temper loses his balance and does not weigh his words. The result is that he arouses anger and resentment in others as well as himself and defeats his own efforts. The man who keeps himself under control commands our respect and confidence. Such a man is well fitted to control others. In the morning, before you start out to your daily work or play, and the case may be, say to yourself, "No matter what happens today, I am going to remain calm and not lose my temper." Before going to bed at night, think over your day's actions and see if you have kept your word. If you have, make a firm resolution to continue to do so tomorrow and the next day and all the days to come. You can do it, and you will find that it will pay you well besides helping you to develop magnetism. Rule 11. You cannot expect to have a winning personality unless you have an eye that is not afraid to look straight at a person. Look into the mirror and think of something pleasant. Note the effect in your eye. Practice in this way will give you a magnetic eye.